So this fall and year as a whole has just been filled with huge gaming titles dropping back to back to back. I mean, this year has been insane for gaming. And October is no different. I mean, we have some of the biggest releases of this year dropping this month, and even drops from series we haven't heard from in years. So some of these will be going on my ever-growing backlog that has just been filled up this year, and some will be played immediately. So here are the top 10. The first title we have this month is Ghost of Yotei, a sequel to Ghost of Tsushima, but not a direct sequel. It shares the name, but it takes place 300 years after Ghost of Tsushima. And to simply put it, if you enjoyed the first game, you'll enjoy this game. It's as simple as that. They didn't completely overhaul the game. They didn't really change a lot with this title. It is new. They did make some changes. And overall, it's going to be very similar to Ghost of Tsushima, but that's fine by me. I didn't want them to completely overhaul that game. That game was a masterpiece to me. And a lot of people were very disappointed. I don't know exactly what they were expecting this title to be. I wanted more Ghost of Tsushima. I would have taken a direct sequel or anything, and that's what this is. This is just more of that same formula. There was a lot to like in the first game. The graphics were beautiful. The combat was really good. You know, every time you walk around, it's just a screenshot worthy moment. I mean, that world was just beautiful. And the combat as well, like compared to most fighting games where you're fighting multiple enemies at once, some games don't handle it well. Like Sekiro, for instance, it just, man, I felt like that game was incredible. Don't get me wrong. I love that game. It's one of my favorites, but it was kind of janky the way you would fight multiple enemies at the same time. You kind of had to, you would take one out and then sneak away and loop around, come back, or you had to do like, it was just janky compared to this where it's the flow of the combat when facing multiple enemies at the same time. It was made for that. They do it better than anyone. So I expect this to be no different, with a story based around Atsu, an Onryo whose family who was slayed by the Yotei 6. I personally love revenge stories. Some don't, but like The Last of Us 2, that was a revenge-filled game, at least for the first half, I guess. But yeah, I mean, I don't mind a revenge story, as cookie cutter as it may be. And one of the changes this game is bringing is a more open world feeling. You have a lot more freedom to choose how and when you complete the story. The Yotei 6 that I mentioned earlier, you can tackle in any order. It's not just a straight linear quest line. They want you to explore more and engage within the open world. Even though it's not a direct open world, I believe they're breaking it off into sections. But they want you to engage and explore, and now the world will feel more alive. They'll react more to what you're doing. The characters, the dialogue, all of it. There's a bunch of other features too, like there's new weapons. You can now change your armor sets on the fly, you know, so you can take advantage of those bonuses you get from your armor sets quickly and make more builds, I guess, within your character. So overall, I didn't expect wholesale changes, and I'm glad they're not. I'm glad they're sticking to that same formula. It has only about a $60 million budget, which is very small. I mean, $60 million is a lot of money, but compared to other gaming titles and big releases where we're seeing 100 million, 300 million, a billion for GTA 6, seeing something that is using a tried and true formula for only 60 million is, I think we should appreciate games like this. I know there's been some controversy within the game, or about the game, I guess, because it has nothing to do with the actual gameplay. It's more about, I don't know. I don't care about that stuff. This game, I'm very excited about. So at 2, we have probably one of the biggest drops this year, and that's Battlefield 6. Maybe the sales won't be number 1. Maybe they will be. I don't know. But just the feel of this game. This feels like the biggest game dropping this year because what it could mean. I mean, first and foremost, this is a modern Battlefield that we haven't really gotten since Battlefield 4, where it's that modern warfare kind of aesthetic that we got with 3 and 4. We haven't gotten that in a while. 2042, Battlefield 5, 1, all of those. We haven't gotten just a regular Battlefield in so long, and we've been clamoring for it. But what makes this title so big is it is directly challenging Call of Duty. Call of Duty has been a top-selling shooter for like over 20 years. They can do no wrong, apparently. You know, even when their games are bad, everyone's buying them and playing them. I'm included. I play all of them. And I don't hate where the game's at right now, but Battlefield 6 just feels like such a huge drop because they are directly competing with it. All of the other COD killers we've gotten in the past, there's always been flaws. You can't half-heartedly go after the #1 FPS shooter by, like, you know, whether it was features that weren't out on release timing, all of that. Like when COD was down, there was never a game that dropped that was fully ready to take over. And with Battlefield 6, they're trying. I'm not saying it will succeed overthrowing COD, but this game, it at least has the potential to do it. There's cross-platform, it's releasing on every platform, and it has a battle royale, a campaign. It has a forge mode similar to Halo. This is a huge release for the Battlefield series. Those other titles, like, I can't even remember the name of it, but Ubisoft had a shooter that was supposed to be a COD killer. We had Splitgate. There's been a bunch, but they always had their flaws. Like there was the Ubisoft one. I had to look it up. It was X Defiant. That was the one that was supposed to do it, but it was in beta for so long. And COD, like when they had that MW2 period where everyone was bashing it, that was the time for someone to come along and release a title that's available to everyone, every platform, with cross-platform like COD has, and no one was there for it. No one could do it. And this feels like a direct competitor. It has the multiplayer, it has the campaign, it has a battle royale, and it has the war aesthetic that everyone on COD misses. Not the Family Guy, Nicki Minaj operators running around. So this is huge. There's a lot riding with this title, and Call of Duty knows this. For the first time ever, Call of Duty is doing things that they have never done pre-released. Black Ops 7 coming out in November, they are making changes that they've never done prior leading up to a title. And I'll probably play Black Ops 7 too, but I just can't wait for Battlefield. We are so back with this title. It feels so good to get a modern, regular Battlefield with a bunch of features like Battle Royale. And at 3, we have Little Nightmares. It's finally back with a remaster and a new entry into the series, but this time you can bring a partner along. With the Enhanced Edition, it's going to revive the original, and then the third is going to be an entire new entry featuring co-op for the first time. The remaster will be at 4K 60 FPS with ray tracing, just all the graphical upgrades you would expect in a 2025 game. And they are also bringing some quality of life updates that were missing from the original. These are both releasing October 10th. And if you own the original on PlayStation, Xbox, or PC, you get it for free, a free upgrade. And with the third, I think co-op is going to be huge for it because, will the game feel the same with co-op? Will you still be as immersed when you're talking and laughing with a friend compared to playing the first one if you were like solo? Will it still have that same feel to it? Will the atmosphere still feel the same? We'll see. And then we have Pokemon Legends Z through A. This is not your typical Pokemon entry where you have the gym battles and all of that. This is another entry into their Legends series, but this really isn't like Arceus that much, and it's not really like any other Pokemon game. Like you're not out in the wild catching Pokemon like where you think they would be. You're in like an almost cyberpunk futuristic city almost, and I'm really curious to see how this works out. Arceus was a success overall. I think a lot of people enjoyed that game. It's one of their favorite JRPGs of all time. That game was reviewed pretty highly. And Pokemon Legends Z through A, I'm very curious to see what they do with this. This is their first big title, I believe, since Power World, if I'm not mistaken. I'm trying to think. I don't think they've released anything since then. And obviously, Pokemon just prints money, similar to Call of Duty. No matter what they do, they're always gonna print money. And Pokemon, the trading card game, just everything, they just print money. So they don't really have to do a gigantic AAA level game like Power World, even though that's not a AAA game, but you know what I'm saying, like a Pokemon game with a lot of layers to it. We haven't really gotten that, and Legends, I'm hoping can bring that because they are making a lot of changes, because not only is it in a city, but there's going to be a lot of new systems within it. Like you work your way up these ranks. I think they have like this 26 level ranking system that you can work your way up on, and they also have real-time combat. Like you and your Pokemon can both dodge and attack at the same time. You can use your Pokemon attacks no longer are limited to, I think it's power points, the PP. That's out of the game now. It just has a refresh timer on it. It is very much turning into like an action RPG where the cooldowns for your attacks are there and there's no more PP and you can just run around and use this. Like this game looks very different. This game's almost like, it's like a Monster Hunter kind of. The combat's almost kind of like a Monster Hunter style game. And I'm just really curious to see how the city feels, because that feeling of being outdoors and catching Pokemon, especially with Arceus, which went back in time, this is going to be completely different. But the one thing I'm excited about is working your way up through this. It's almost like a battle royale, I think is how they were wording it, or like a gauntlet of trainers. I'm curious to see how this actually works, because even though Arceus was well received by many, I like the game. I just thought it was a little repetitive. I kind of missed that competitive feeling of earning the gym badges, getting that dopamine hit, and having the challenge. That was kind of missing for me with Arceus. I don't know. It was fun. It was like a cozy style game a little bit, but I wanted a little more. And I'm hoping this brings that. And with the dodges and the combos and the turn-based combat being pretty much removed entirely, this is different. No matter what you say, this is going to be a different game compared to the last. And hopefully we see them fully take advantage of the Switch 2 power and make a game that looks like it belongs in 2025. They usually do not do that. Their games have just been behind graphically for a long time. And then we are getting Ninja Gaiden 4, which is going to be on Game Pass October 21st. And they've done a lot of remasters this year that have been extremely successful, but this is a brand new entry. It'll have the dual protagonist system, so it'll probably play out a lot like Devil May Cry. Combat will be very different this time around. They are definitely adding a lot of quality of life changes to that, and fundamentally it's just different. So we'll see how that affects people's perception of the game. But the world and style seem to be very true to the series with this title. But even though the reviews are mixed, I think there's a lot of hopeful people. They have gained a lot of good faith with these remasters they made, and it's on Game Pass along with the remasters. So for people who do have Game Pass, they've been able to play all of these. And then we have Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2. This is also releasing on October 21st. It'll be in a almost fantasy version of Seattle. You play as a vampire who wakes up after a century of sleeping. This also will have a almost cyberpunk feel. I feel like any game that has a city now is leaning into a futuristic version of that city with the bright lights, the neon everywhere. This is doing the same thing. And this time around, it'll be a little more action RPG versus regular RPG, where there's a lot of things that you were able to do in the previous game that are now behind your powers. It's about leveling up your character. But we'll have to see, because this game has gotten a lot of backlash with content that was originally supposed to be in the game already being planned to be behind DLC before the game even releases. You know, I hate when we see this with games. Like, I don't mind DLC. I don't mind supporting a game years after release. Like Lies of P, I think their DLC dropped, it's like 3 years, 2.5, 3 years. Elden Ring DLC was like 2 years later. That's fine by me. But when you're already holding back content pre-release and announcing DLC pre-release, that gets a little crazy to me. So I'm very curious to see how this plays out. I'm interested in it. Then we have The Outer Worlds 2. This is Obsidian's take on Fallout. If Avowed was their take on Skyrim, this is their take on Fallout, kind of. Even though it's a little more similar. It's kind of like an attempt at Fallout and Starfield, I guess you could say. But yeah, this is a very unique title because Obsidian isn't as popular as it used to be. I mean, they're well known, but like The Outer Worlds was not a AAA game. And I enjoyed The Outer Worlds 1. I'll be doing a retrospective of that game very soon because I just played through it. But the reason this game has been so intriguing is this was supposed to be the first title that's not a Switch game, like the mainline consoles and PC, like Xbox, PlayStation, PC. This was going to be the first $80 game. Xbox gave them their entire own part of their showcase. Like Xbox did their own showcase where they showed Call of Duty, Gears of War, all of their huge titles for this year. And then the hour afterwards, The Outer Worlds got their own. Like they went all in on this. Like Starfield, it was supposed to get an expansion this year and it just didn't. Starfield's got nothing. And this was it's almost like they were taking Starfield out, they were subbed out, and The Outer Worlds is in. They ended up walking back that $80 because I just think it was unfair, man. Like, The Outer Worlds isn't a gigantic studio. They don't put a ton of money into their games. Like, their budgets aren't ridiculous. They do this by design so that they don't have the huge risk of that. They like doing smaller projects, no matter how successful they do get. That's kind of been their philosophy. And I know that was not their decision. They did not make this game saying, this is going to be the first $80 game. We're going to be the first ones to make the jump. They didn't want that. That goes completely against their philosophy in the first place. You know, they have directly said that they don't aim to make games like that. So while they might try making the next Skyrim, technically, that's just like they want to make a game that kind of feels like Skyrim. Like, they don't want to make something as big as Skyrim. That game wasn't supposed to be the next Skyrim. That game changed philosophy of Avowed. I'm talking about Avowed. That game changed like the fundamentals of what that game was supposed to be so many times, and it was a mess by the time it did get out. I enjoyed it, but what I'm trying to say is they don't aim to make these huge, gigantic AAA games, even though they probably are considered AAA studio now with Microsoft's backing. But they didn't want to be that company who makes the first jump to $80. They were forced to by Microsoft. It's on Game Pass. And so with all that said, they did walk it back. It will be $70. It will be on Game Pass. It was always going to be on Game Pass, but now it will be $70 instead of $80. And I'm just curious to see what they do that's better than the first one, because I actually really enjoyed the Outer Worlds one. And there were a lot of features in that game that came out in 2020 or 2019 rather, that weren't there in Avowed. Like, there was some time, love, and care that Avowed didn't get just based off who was leading the game, like leadership changes. That game changed identity so many times, and there were some things within Avowed that made it feel half-baked compared to the Outer Worlds, even though it came out 4 or 5 years later. And the Outer Worlds, I mean, they did do a good job. You know, for a AA game, I mean, that main story was good. The DLC was also very well received. So I'm just looking to see, are the changes that they made in the DLC going to carry over into their next title? You know, I think the expectations should be a lot higher for this game. Look, so if you like that Bethesda style RPG formula, this is for you. If you like Fallout, this is for you. And it takes place in Arcadia, not Halcyon. It'll be a completely new area, and it's just gonna be another big space shooter RPG. So hopefully it works out, because I'm rooting for them. I'm hoping that this game does so well that they get the green light to do Fallout New Vegas. That needs a new game. The show takes place, season 2 of Fallout takes place in New Vegas. I'm hoping this does well, because Fallout New Vegas, it can be built like on the Outer Worlds too, if that makes any sense. Like, I feel like that style of RPG shooter, the Outer Worlds fits that perfectly. Like, that could easily be turned into a Fallout New Vegas by that studio. There wouldn't need to be a lot of work done to it. So I'm hoping that this works out so they can make that, because they're working on new Fallout titles, and these are not going to be Bethesda games. They're working on Starfield and the Elder Scrolls 6, which we will get sometime in the next 5 or 10 years. Like maybe 2028, it looks like maybe 2027 at the earliest. So we need more Fallout stuff, and I'm hoping that this does good enough to the point where Xbox says, you're going to be the ones who are making a new Fallout title for us, because they need it. Virtuos is doing Fallout 3. There is a Fallout 5 being worked on, but we haven't been told who's making it yet. I highly doubt it's Bethesda, since they are working on the new Elder Scrolls 6 and Starfield still, trying to bring that game back to life with the new DLC next year, which was delayed because of the Outer Worlds. They were able to delay that to a following year, so we'll see. And then we have Arc Raiders, one of the biggest titles dropping this year. Like, this is going to be the first big extraction shooter that's well polished and will be on multiple platforms. Usually we just get it to PC, and then we get kind of like a half-baked version over to console eventually. This is releasing on all platforms with crossplay day 1, October 30th. And this is huge for console. Like, this is kind of like how Destiny was for console, the first MMO space shooter that came over to console. You know, they brought crossplay with Destiny 2. This is kind of a similar thing, like Fortnite, for instance. That was the first battle royale. It had crossplay. It was free to play. It was on all consoles and platforms immediately. I know they didn't have crossplay immediately, but they added it, you know, like within a few months. Like, this is that level of game where it is bringing extraction to the wide audience. Like, the fundamentals of this extraction shooter are incredible. You get solo and trios, and there's PvP and PvE within the same game. So it's PvPvE, I guess. A little complicated, but so yeah, you're dropping in against AI and users, and you're trying to extract with your loot, and you actually get a home base where you can upgrade and craft things. You have a skill tree, and there's going to be multiple maps with evolving weather conditions. And I mean, people love this game. The people that have been able to play these play tests, like the atmosphere and sound design within this game, like, this is going to be a very immersive title, and it's available on all platforms. This is huge for extraction shooters. And these last two are just kind of like, what are these? That's what these last two are. I saved them. We got Kingmakers on October 8th. This is like a medieval game with shotguns and tanks and rifles. I don't know what this is. I don't know if I can even put it into words that would make sense, but I'll just let you watch this and make your own conclusions. I'm excited for it though. I remember seeing the trailer like over a year ago, and it was delayed. We're apparently getting it October 8th. It says it on Steam, but I still don't think you can pay for it. Like, you can't pre-order it yet, technically. And yeah, I'm hoping we get it October 8th. We'll see. There's been little said about this game, but it looks awesome, you know, pure adrenaline. We'll see. Then we have Keeper. I saw this during one of the game shows this year, and you play as a lighthouse. You walk around on an adventure as a lighthouse. This is going to be a smaller indie game. It will be on Game Pass. It will be on Xbox Play Anywhere. It's only $30 if you do want to get it. It's supposed to be one of those puzzle adventure games. You walk around as a lighthouse. I mean, if you're into this kind of thing, if this is your cup of tea, it's worth giving a shot, I think. Look into it. I'm going to give it a shot. The art it looks too cool not to try. And then lastly, Nintendo Switch has been getting a lot of titles. I've been surprised. Like, they even got Chronos, like a day 1 release. So they're obviously getting Pokemon Legends. That's a Nintendo title, but they're also getting Plants vs. Zombies Replanted, Mortal Kombat, Persona 3, Super Mario Galaxy, and Galaxy 2. So if you're a Switch owner, honorable mention to y'all. Y'all are getting some more titles this month. The Switch is really starting to fill up their library compared to release. And that is it. Check out my channel. I make reviews, ranks like this, just gaming discussion, news, things like that. Yeah, peace. Thanks for watching if you made it this far and watch me ramble through 10 games.